Welcome. I'm back and I'm set to lay it all on the table, no holds barred. I will say this as simple as possible. It's okay to fail.
Aisha, we have sure missed you. I'm also ready for some straight talk. I'll be identifying the cost of grade.
That's right, Elsie. Tell it as it is, Jerry. Andy spoke of choosing our mad last week. What of this form of mutually assured destruction, our kamikaze road culture? Welcome back, Brent.
Thanks, Yinka. What's new? I know there's never a dull moment at the table. In the spirit of straight talk, masking, are you a hypocrite?
Curious question there. I've never heard anyone say they are one. Well, I'll be underscoring what happens when we jettison empathy and kindness, as in the recent tragic incident I've titled The Mortal Chase in Ibadan.
Nigerians and our expensive empathy. Should I add to that our cruel kindness? Teacher, I beg, teach us. Perhaps today we will learn the lesson. Last week, I had a brain freeze during exam. After the exam, I thought of my daughter, who had stayed all night to help me. I felt I had disappointed her the most. This was not a case of an examination that was difficult. Every one of those questions were what we had practiced. I sent her a text of apology, and her reply made me know how blessed I was. Or should I say, I am. And this is the message I sent to her. I said, "Dear Aliyah, I really want to apologize to you. My exam today was a flop. I went blank in the exam hall. I could not remember a single thing after all the effort you put into helping me. I'm deeply sorry. You stayed all night with me and have always helped me with my work. I really feel bad for letting you down. I love you." She responded with the following: "Mommy, that's absolutely fine. One night in the grand scheme of things means nothing. Of course, I will stay up all night if you need help. You could never let me down. You're chasing your third degree while saving Nigeria and running a successful YouTube account. I'm super proud of you," she said. "If you pass, alhamdulillah. If you don't, we will do it again and spend more time learning it." To be honest, she said, "I spent 20 years studying maths, essentially, and even I had to look online to remember most of the equations. Don't be hard on yourself. Please call after your exams for the day. Love you." I know I might have a carryover, and it probably might hurt my chances of the first class that I'm gunning for, but I'm glad I had the opportunity to share this moment with my daughter. I've always told my children that it was better to get an honorable F than a dishonorable A. I demonstrated that, and my daughter affirmed it. Failure, they say, is not falling down. Failure is staying down. And I, Aisha Yesufu, refuse to stay down. I will take responsibility, learn my lessons, and be better the next time.
I think it was Robert Kennedy who said, "Only those who dare to fail greatly can achieve greatly." And the thing about failing and failure is that if you've never failed, you can't really advise people. Because failure is that experience that you have at the end of the day. It's about the story of Thomas Edison, who failed many times before finally succeeding with the bulb, with the light bulb. So you recall that here at the table, I've talked about failure many times. You failed at your marriage, you're in a better position to make it work a second time, and you're in a better position to be a motivational speaker, because now you know how not to fail and what to do to succeed. So it's okay. It's okay to fail. I failed once. I mean, I repeated class. Who would ever think that? I repeated the class in secondary school, but I still came out with A's at the end of the day. So come on now. You'll pass the next time.
Yeah.
Can I say a word about the relationship between you and your daughter? It's a very
unique one,
loving relationship, and you know, kudos to you for bringing up such a brilliant daughter that produced that encouragement to a mother.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Students go through a lot of mental torture and mental trauma during exams.
Yeah.
And maybe because the way we grew up when we were being trained in school, we grew up with that kind of abuse. It's in such a way that we kind of internalized it and accepted it as normal, but it's not normal. And I face that with my daughter and my son. You know, I have 2 kids. Watching them, you know, struggle with exams, and it's not like they're not brilliant. I mean, they're brilliant kids and everything, but seeing the panic attacks that happen, and having to deal with that. So, you know, with my kids, at some point, you know, we had to, you know, help them to get counselors, you know, some kind of, you know, psychologists to help them through the panic attacks and all that. And it's something that parents, you know, must be very deliberate about. The fact that a child is struggling, all right, towards an exam doesn't mean that child is not brilliant. You just have to be able to help them. And sometimes the way to help them is to lower the expectations. It's like parents always feel that they need to push the child. No, it's not every time you push the child.
Yeah.
You must always let the child understand that, look, if you fail, fine, we'll go do it again. I tell my kids that, look, I did jam 4 times, right? And I'm here, okay? Each time that I got it, I didn't get the required cut-off mark, I go back and do it again, you know, and I'm still here. So we need to be very intentional and careful the way we pressure our children. We had just recently of a child that committed suicide. I don't know whether that story is true. That, you know, after she got her jam result, you know, I don't know what kind of pressure could have been on that child to have made her take her life.
Yeah.
But I can almost guess that the pressure to succeed was part of it.
True.
So we have to let, you know, our children know that, one, we will always be, you know, by their side. We will always be in support of them. But that if they fail, it's not the end of the story. It's just a blip which they can overcome.
Thank you so much. Elsie?
Okay, so while he was speaking, I was thinking back to my journey, educational journey, right? I remember clearly when I was in primary school, I was a very up there student, right?
How do you mean up there?
First, second, and double
Just
promotion,
joking. Yeah.
double promotion even, right? But when I got into secondary school, it changed a bit because I think my first exam in GSS 1, I was 11th, right? It wasn't 1 to 3rd anymore. And that, I can remember that shook me a bit, but then I had a conversation with my mom and she was able to encourage to say, oh, remember that this is now a bigger class, there's a lot of people, and she even brought in context to say, look at the overall score itself, don't look at the position, because it could be that you are 11th and then you are still on 90-something, right? So just, she brought in context to the conversation and also encouraged. And then, of course, we continued that, university, struggling with a lot of things, and then adulthood, and I finished with 2-2, right? And even that 2-2, a lot of people are not proud to be able to come out to say they finished with 2-2. If it's not first class or 2-1, it's almost like you are not supposed to be part of that conversation, or in fact, you are not supposed to do well, right? And from my experience in trying to make something out of life, personally, I would say that the jobs I have done, I haven't done it because of my certificates from school. It has been a lot of other skills, whether interpersonal, work skills that I have picked up, also interrelationships that has provided these opportunities for me. Yes, at some point they will ask for your credentials, but that's not the reason. But one thing I've also noticed in our educational system, there's a lot of problem, right? But in trying to solve this problem, they are creating another problem. I noticed down that in some schools, you don't have the positions being from 1 to whatever the number the class is. You probably have 20 people in a class and everybody got first, second, third, They're doing it now to make the children feel good and to make the parents feel good, because you have a situation where when they do the whole numbering from 1 to 20 or however it is, sometimes, you know, there's a tie as well. Parents come to the school to make noise, like, why would my child do this? You're trying to make my child feel bad. All that happened, and you've seen schools now, whether we are 20 or 15 in class, everybody's first, second, third, just make them feel good.
That's not nice.
Yes, it happens. So
that's okay.
I would say that there's something called pedagogy, right, which is pretty much a method of teaching. We need to go back and look at it. We as a people also need to give people room to fail. It's not the end of the world. Our learning abilities is very different. I know there are terms for all these things that I do not know, because again, I'm not a psychologist or a teacher, but I know there are terms that they even use to grade how people learn, their pace. We need to begin to put all that into how we interact, and also bring in context and allow people just really grow at a certain pace that helps. This is not to say you then become lackadaisical and not put in the work. Put in the work, but like you said, if it's an honorable F, you know that you have the chance to work at it again and do better. And even, in fact, if you're learning something that you've learned 2 times, you might even then come out a better product than someone who did it once and got through, right? So I think that our educational system will have to look at it, our society as well, how we treat people. In fact, we already have class. If you went to university and you went to Polytechnic, it's another conversation entirely.
I think the quality of, we always want to address problems from the end instead of from the beginning. But I also think that the quality of our society is based off of our upbringing, right? You said something about somebody committing suicide when they failed exam. I remember when I wrote JAMB, and I had checked my results and I had cleared it. It was good, right? And then I went ahead, I did my post-UME, difficult, the most difficult post-UME I've ever written in my life. Cleared everything, our name was even published on newspapers, it was good. Now it's time for you to go into, you know, go do your clearance and, you know, start the whole process. So I went to school, I went to, you know, went to all my documents. One thing I did not do, I didn't print out my JAMB because I saw it, I was excited, and I ran off.
Oh.
Then, you know, they were not asking for the JAMB results and all that. So I went back to the cyber cafe to print it out, and I got there, and they said the entire school was cancelled. My entire school cancelled.
Why?
That there was a lot of malpractice in the school, so they cancelled the entire result. That center, they cancelled the entire result. And I'm like, eh? Now, I understand the fact that you've given testimony in church. You've got as a teenager, you've given testimony in church that you are now...
Passed JAMB.
You passed JAMB.
JAMB,
you got that admission. You're about to go. So, yeah, the only reason why I'm still standing here today is because all the drivers were dodging. They were dodging like this. That's the reason I'm standing here today. Because I could not... My dad, I could not think of going back and tell my dad that I'm not going to go to university. I entered Express. I just entered. Let the car just jam me. But they were all dodging. That's the reason why I'm still standing here today. Because I can understand when your parents put you under pressure that failure is the worst thing in life. It takes you to a whole different place. Nigerians, Africans, do not create anything new. We always want to replicate something that already exists. And creating new things requires for you to try and fail and have the confidence, first of all, to fail over and over and over again. So I think, our parents, we've become who we are today. I feel like new parents should understand. I saw a video of a kid, of a small family, and the kid, you know, they were trying to have dinner, and then the kid poured water, and the kid started laughing. If you pour water on the table in a Nigerian home, the first thing is like, you're looking at your parents and like, oh, what's about to happen? But that kid had never experienced, you know, what's like to be like, oh, this is wrong. He doesn't even know. He just, it's okay. It's fine, it's okay. It's fine, it's a mistake, it's okay. But in our environment, you first get a knock first. Like, letting they worry you before they start asking you why, right? So I feel like it is important for us to understand that our early behaviors and how we treat our children affects how they become as adults.
I think this is the kind of advocacy where we need another advocacy inside the advocacy, because the conversation it's been quite really deep, and for me I think it's very important, you know, just allowing children to understand that it's okay to
Yeah.
fail and teaching them how to fail, especially those who do very well, they are very brilliant. It's worse on them. So I have 2 kids who are like opposite of each other. I have one who is dyslexic, has a learning disability, so constantly always failing. Then I have one who is a top achiever, who is 10 percentile of human beings when they did her IQ and all of that. So for me, it's always been about effort. I always tell them it's about the effort. The result doesn't matter. Let's focus on the effort. Did you do what you're supposed to do? If you put in the effort, no problem. Like with my son who is dyslexic, having to fail over and over again, I just kept telling him that, like, yeah, it's okay. I remember there was a time he called me from school, you panic, you talked about this thing. And I didn't relate until when you spoke about it now. Even as an adult, like this 15 papers I wrote, there were times I entered, I was having shortness of breath. I live by the expression, lead by example. If you're not prepared to do this, then I suggest you keep your opinions to yourself.
Bam. Time to put our mouth where our money is. Let's talk greed and its price tag. In August last year, the chairman of BUA Group spoke about the frustration his company faced in trying to subsidize the price of cement. He explained that BUA sold over 1 million tons to dealers at 3,500 naira per bag, hoping the dealers would pass the benefits down to consumers. But instead, dealers sold each bag at 7,000 to 8,000 naira. BUA had to scrap the policy because the intervention was not to subsidize dealers. You may wonder why I'm bringing this up 9 months later. Please stay with me. A friend shared his discovery from just last week. He ran out of beverages and went to restock temporarily. He found that a single sachet was going for 250 naira. It's easy to assume things are just expensive and move on. But no, a carton of that beverage gives you a per unit cost of about 174 naira. Maybe it's transportation cost, you would say, but no. Another woman, just 200 meters away, sells a roll at a rate that brings each sachet to 180 naira. So where did we get 250 naira for? Now, about 10 years ago, a friend who ran a small factory producing ointment balm for 15 naira, factoring in raw materials, labor, machines, and of course, profits. Wholesalers sold it for 25 naira, but retailers, 50 naira. We have seen government efforts to subsidize food frustrated by people who buy at subsidized rates and resell at ridiculous prices. No fear of God, but churches and mosques stay full every weekend. The other day, I found out our beloved national snack, which retails for 500 naira, is being sold for 800 naira in some quarters. And guess what? It gets to retailers at 403 naira. Now make it make sense. We have normalized this problem, yet we complain that economic progress only exists on paper. With a marketplace this greedy, even if the naira miraculously returns to 1,000 naira to $1, the masses may never feel it. Where do we go from here? Do we need a price control board? Maybe. But how do we ensure it works in a country without accountability? Let's be honest, we don't just need a price control board, we need to fix our principles.
Can I go first?
Yes, please.
All right. So, what you just described is what I called greedflation. Okay.
Greedflation.
Greedflation.
Interesting.
Or what we call price gouging, and which is in effect, a process where people, in a way, deliberately increase the price of items or commodities for the sole purpose of profit. And the BUA example is a very typical example that you gave. And I remember exactly when the chairman made that statement. I think he even spoke it on TV. He expressed his frustration because of what the middleman is doing in between. Now, the interesting thing is that you're asked, do we need a price control board? I don't think so.
Okay.
And the reason is because we already have existing laws that takes care of price gouging, in itself. Let me just, quote that specific law, which is the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act itself. Now, according to that act, price gouging and price fixing is illegal in Nigeria. And specifically, Section 7 prohibits obnoxious trade practices or the unscrupulous exploitation of consumers. Section 108, 1, B and C says that any conspiracy, agreement, or arrangement to unduly limit or manipulate supply in order to unreasonably enhance price or restrain competition is a criminal offense punishable upon conviction. So we have laws already that takes care of this. But guess what happens when the FCCPC decides to go after some of these people? A typical example is what they did with DSCB. Guess what happens? It's the same Nigerians that will say, what's your business? It's a business. They have a right to increase their price. It's, are we doing socialism in Nigeria? So I think what we need to do is we need to educate Nigerians a lot that there's a difference between profiteering. You're doing business and you're adding 10%, 20% margin, yes. But when you deliberately manipulate price, as you have described, that is illegal. That's against the law. Mm-hmm. And we must call them out, and we must ensure that the right agency of government is also being prepped to do the right thing. And when they do, we give them all the support that is needed.
Mm. If you want to do your job, do your job. Like you have a job to do. We're all here doing our jobs, right? It doesn't matter who says what and who says this. Do you understand? It's your job to protect the consumer. Protect the consumer. That's what you have to do. You don't need pageantry to do that. But we live in a society where illegality isn't judged by the crime, but by who's committing it. Hmm. And that's where the problem is. Because if it was somebody that was in a lower, look at what ESS is doing. They're chasing people who, using taxpayers' money.
Or the judges are jailing those who steal goods.
Do you understand?
For those
people who steal the real money. Do you understand? And that's the core of the problem. Mm-hmm. Is the fact that our judicial system, our law enforcement agency, and anybody that's responsible, or agents that are responsible to protect people, are not being fair. They're not really doing their jobs. Because if they actually do their jobs, then this will not exist.
That's right.
There are businesses that are trying, because we understand what the situation of this country is, but what I've come to realize is anybody that has an opportunity to leverage, they take it.
Sharp. I just want to backtrack to 1984, during the tenure, the regime of General Muhammadu Buhari.
Yeah.
That was his first coming into national leadership. And we had what was called the Senko, if you guys remember.
Yeah.
And at that time, they set up a price control board to sort of moderate the prices of essential commodities.
Yeah, food and all
Fast forward to 2004, President Obasanjo reaffirmed that price control board. I don't know if that's the board that has metamorphosed into FCPC, but there is a price control board at some point in this country. Whether it's still working, whether we have a DG or someone overseeing that board, whether they're at work or not is what I don't know. But here is my own experience. I once bought, a souvenir from a shop, and I bought it at, say, 25,000. I really wanted to give a gift to somebody really very important, And then a few weeks later, I went to the open market in Lagos, and I got it for 6,000 naira.
What? Like the same exact thing?
It's even bigger.
Okay.
And better. So you see, we are our own problems. Bright is asking us today, are you a hypocrite? A lot of us are. And a lot of us are mean, unkind, and we fleece people to feel good. it's such a sorry thing for us to do.
I'm coming last, and I'm somehow going to disagree with you all. On the BUA case, there's something somewhere. You know why I said so? I've been a distributor for over 20 years, for over 2 decades. There is no how the company will reduce prices and it will not go down. Do you know why? Because everybody is chasing volume. In that business, most of the things we chase is volume. So when there's reduction, I will reduce to get more customers. The other one we reduce. What we even have is predatory pricing, where at the end of the day, people are selling below the cost price to be able to get rebates. So that BUA thing, Aisha Yesufu, I'm ready to sit down and challenge BUA, whatever he's saying. Maybe the distributors are not speaking. It is very difficult. So I remember when BUA did that, this thing, and it was a period where there was a lot of issue. I think with that was the first time the forex had gone up. The naira to dollar price had gone up, and I said something. I said, for somebody in this economy to reduce the price, that means they were being overpriced so much before, or whatever it is. After a while, they took it back. BUA took it back. Is it a political? Come and be making political statements and then be blaming distributors. Let me tell you, one of the things that people don't understand is that we as traders, we make more money when things are cheap. When things are expensive, you don't make money.
You're saying that there is no possibility of these distributors forming a cartel.
No, there is possibility. They can form cartel. But how are they, when we can't unite on issues? There are some people that are able, only one group are able to form that cartel, not too much.
Maybe in a particular location, maybe location based, but not
yes.
But I begin to understand what they mean when they say that corruption is deep-rooted, since it goes to foundational issues like our principles.
Deep-rooted is right, Elsie. We better bring out our hoes and get digging. As the Allied forces cruised to victory during the Second World War, one of the Axis powers adopted a desperate measure to end America's dominance on the sea. They created a unit whose main task was to embark on suicide missions by flying their planes into enemy warships. Their weapons of choice, their planes. That unit got the infamous name, the Kamikaze Unit. In Nigeria today, we've created our unique brand of mutually assured destruction, MAD, in what I've termed kamikaze driving, a unique style of driving without regard for speed limits, traffic laws, and other road users, and even a minimum sense of safety. It's no wonder available statistics of road traffic crashes over the last 8 years are appalling. According to the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, between 2016 to 2023, Nigeria recorded over 88,000 cases of road traffic crashes, resulting in over 44,000 deaths and 270,000 injuries. 80% of these casualties are males. The data further shows that 69% of these accidents are by commercial vehicles, as against 29% by private vehicles, meaning commercial vehicles are twice as likely to be involved in road traffic crashes as private vehicles. The main culprits are cars, averaging 30%, while motorcycles and trucks both average 20%. By an overwhelming margin, 5 out of every 10 accidents in Nigeria are caused by overspeeding. We must put an end to this madness on our roads that is killing people at their prime. It's a joint responsibility. The government must prioritize road repairs and enforce speed limits. They must enforce the 10-year rule on the importation of used cars into Nigeria. Trucks older than 15 years shouldn't be allowed on our roads. The emergency management systems on our roads must also be optimized. Road users must also be responsible and keep to the traffic codes. Pedestrians must stop dashing across highways when there's a bridge mere meters away. Instead of harassing private vehicles, the Federal Road Safety Corps should enforce the law and actualize its mandate of eradicating road traffic crashes and creating a safe motoring environment in Nigeria. we must end this kamikaze road culture?
I think I've said this before during one of this advocacy. The way you keep your house will determine if I'm going to enter with my shoes or I'll take my shoes off. Because if the house is dirty, I'm not about to dirty my leg, I went out my shoes, right? There are things that can be put in place to avoid things like this. I mean, for example, I was in Dubai with my friend and he drives a Maserati. And we were driving and he's driving 60 and I'm like, bro, why did you buy a Maserati? And I'm driving 60. What's the point? I'm like, bro, you see these things? There are cameras everywhere. Speed limit, if I drive more than 60, they're sending me a mail and I'm paying for it. And it's not small money. So they don't have to have police truck. They don't have to have anything. There are structures in place.
They don't have last mile the roads.
You won't even see police, nobody. There are structures in place where when they send you bill like 17 times, you would adjust your driving, but your brain will rewire itself and you adjust your driving. So as long as there's no repercussion to the actions, there's no accountability, people will always find a way to get away with things. It's that simple.
Even at the risk of their life.
I mean, the thing about risking your life is that
Is it a risk?
Do you understand?
When their pastor and malams are Dibia told them
what are the chances that it will happen to them today?
Yeah.
That's the first question. Like, you think everybody's driving like with the mind that, today I'm going to die? No, the people have too many things that are going on in their mind that the last thing they're thinking about is, I'm trying to get to that deal. I don't want to miss. I'm not trying to go through this traffic because
some of them are not even going anywhere. So that is that serious.
At the end of the day, it's structures. When you put structures in place,
absolutely,
the system solve the problem.
I agree with you. I mean, recall that I shared here that there is speed limit in Cotonou, in Republic of Benin.
Yeah.
You dare not go above it, just as you shared in Dubai.
And they don't have cameras.
No, I don't think they have cameras in the Republic of Benin, but there is strict compliance. In fact, the lady who I had a ride with said she'd been flagged 3 times and she paid. You would pay. So there is no need for drama on the road. Having said that, I'm particularly intrigued by the gendering of your stats, you know, that men are more inclined to have road accidents and road rage. I wonder why, because we have exceptions with women as well. I wonder why women are not featuring, because we tend to have drama too on the road. It's actually intriguing to me to see that more men have accidents and more men overspeed, and more men die as a result of road accidents. Thank you for this advocacy. I love it.
More men die than women.
Yes.
More men die. Okay, so where do I start from? It's to say that, first of all, we assume that people are supposed to know these things. We are not taught. I always use my son as because he finished his secondary school in the UK. He had to live here because of his dyslexia. We took him to England. You know, after their GSC, they call it, they had period where ordinarily here, they just go back home. They were teaching them, you know, how to drive, how to do, what are the things to learn, being a responsible citizen, paying your tax, doing this, all of that. So, but here, nobody really sits you down and teach you. Most people get their driver's license without even going to driving school. It's now that they're enforcing it, you know, a little bit.
We actually used to have civic education where they taught us. I mean, when we were growing up, there was civic education, but then it disappeared. But they brought it back in now, and then what you have is the one where you're reading the textbook and passing. There's a difference between you being taught and then read your textbook and cram it and go and pass. You're reading it for exams, so you really don't get it. I think so there are places where they don't even have traffic lights. There are some places they don't have traffic, but anybody coming in there knows what to do. I remember I just came, I had to ask my daughter, like, okay, how do you guys do it? So when you just come in, you make sure everybody that was there before you goes and then you go. Yeah. And the next person that is coming is not going to jump you because they saw you when you came. They stopped. I mean, my experience in Canada, in some places, you know, they stop and they ensure all of you. So it's simple. This is what we do. But here we have scarcity mentality. If I allow this person to pass the road is closed. So that's why you see when you want to cross, people will, try to drive on this thing. So that's one. When you talk about trucks and saying that 15 years, any truck after, where's the money? Excuse me? Our minimum wage is 80,000. Is it 70,000? How many 70,000 are you going to add to buy a truck that is less than 15 years? So our poverty
also contributes to it. You don't have purchasing power has been reduced. You want truck less than this thing. So that's also some of the problems we have. Camera, with which light? So the camera is there. Even traffic.
No, but we're using solar now. Come on now. See, we're using
hold on.
I'll shoot that about my
Wait now. You know, one of the things that frustrates me the most in this country is coming to a traffic, a junction, and the traffic lights are not working properly. I get of all the things in Nigeria. That's one. I'm like, even traffic lights, we can't manage. How many times you get there? This one is blinking. This one, that one is blinking. You don't know which one to go. They're not working. So that's solar.
Yeah, blue. What's those blue?
Are you serious? Blue.
No, I'm telling you, it's crazy. On a serious note, when it comes to traffic, Lagos does better than Abuja. I will tell you that Abuja is like
Abuja.
It's crazy. But you see the thing, you see the thing for me.
What? Abuja is the better place to drive than Lagos.
No, I can't drive in Abuja. Abuja is
we have the roads and everything. But in terms of traffic, obeying traffic, Lagosians, for what I've seen, they do better than Abuja. And why? Because they will pay. So the thing for me now, I'm talking to Nigerian police. Every time they will be talking, give me 10 naira, give me 20 naira. Fines alone can help. People will commit these things, no problem. But if they pay, if we have a system where they're paying, and then somehow the police also are taking a share of that fine, they won't need to put their men and women on the street to be begging for 5 naira. From those fines, they can take it, whether it's the police now or the local government or whatever, where you have people commit those things, they pay.
By the time you formula.
Yes, there's a sharing formula amongst them, that the state that it gets to them, not the one that someone is telling
they
to.
know that if they go by what you are saying now, it will not be sustainable, because when Nigerians really pay that fine for a while, the culture will arrange. Anyway,
in spite of the culture, no matter how it arranges, people still make mistakes.
Even over there, to steal the money that will work.
No, fines. Local councils make money from fines. So fine, because people will make, let me quickly dash. Look, but a human being is not wired to do the right thing. Human being is wired to test, so we are the ones that you have to be catching them and making them.
I think that Bright and Aisha now has captured my thoughts properly. There isn't much to say. For me, there's system, there's culture, and to get these things right, we have to understand the relationship between both, right? System is those processes and mechanisms that are designed to then, of course, bring efficiency and consistency, right? And if you have a good system, then it can definitely undermine bad culture. If you don't have a good system, there's nothing that has been said that needs to be said again. In your 10-year rule, car, trucks, whatever, I wrote downfall, and then I wrote pure water distribution companies. Have you ever seen any pure water distribution company that they are not pushing?
That the truck is less than 30 years.
Have you seen? Downfall is on the road. So many of them should not be roadworthy.
In terms of the 15 years, I was actually more particular about trucks, especially because we have a lot of truck accidents.
No, so I'm not even about the rule, whether it's 10 or 15 or whatever. Even if you are driving a 20 years old vehicle, it can be maintained. It can be maintained. We might have every kind of problem, but is it talent and hands to get things done? They will get it done. It can be maintained. So I'm not even a fan of 10-year rule or whatever, because like you said, there's poverty. What I can afford is what I can afford. But can you maintain it? Like, you are holding me, a private vehicle, for maybe what? A light somewhere, but the downfall that is passing me next to me is a death trap. Yeah. And people are in it paying money, and the government has internalized it as part of our culture, because they don't hold them anymore. I don't know how the settlement is done, but those things should not be on the road. So, I mean, I think, honestly, Bryce has said it. If I come to your house and it's dirty, I go where my shoe enter. There's nothing anybody can do about it. It's that simple.
All right. If we don't kill corruption,
corruption will kill us.
And by extension, indiscipline, corruption will kill us. Pure and simple.
Yinka, isn't this already killing us? Though we appear much alive. Interestingly, corruption and hypocrisy have much in common. Let's be honest. Pointing fingers is easy. We all do it. The politicians are corrupt. The system is broken. The country is finished. We sit in conversations on social media or around dinner tables, listing all the people who are responsible for Nigeria's problem. Everyone except ourselves. But here's the question. Are you a hypocrite? We're loud when the issues is something we're clean on. When we have opinion, hot takes, and righteous anger. But the moment the topic hits something we're guilty of, we suddenly go quiet. You condemn corruption, but inflate invoices when they give you a chance. You drag the government for stealing, but you won't return extra change at the store. You talk about broken values, yet manipulate your way through systems, favors, and shortcuts every day. If the eyes of your privacy were opened, if everything you did in the secret came to life, would you still talk the way you do right now? You like to believe the problem is up there with the big names and the big moves. But most times, it's the small, invisible decisions made by millions every day that truly break our nation. The boss who doesn't pay salary on time, the civil servant who won't move a file without being bribed, the student who cheats, the lecturer who looks away, the citizen who sells their votes, and the voter who justifies it. Are you really part of the solution or just another quiet contributor to the same circle? Change doesn't start with power. It starts with honesty, and accountability isn't for them or for us. It is for all of us. So before we call out the next person, maybe we should all pause and ask, am I as clean as I expect others to be? Am I a hypocrite? Because the truth is, we can't build the Nigeria we want with fingers pointed outwards and eyes shut inwards.
Let me just add, because I don't have a lot to say in this advocacy. I think the script, what he has said, justifies it. Like he has asked the question. I would say I think most of us are hypocrites. We're all hypocrites. But there are some sets of people that you missed that I want to add. You said we're allowed when the issue is something we're clean on. We have opinions, hot takes, and righteous anger. Then you said, but the moment the topic hits something we are guilty of, we suddenly go quiet. They don't go quiet though. They are now the ones who are speaking the most and doing the same things that they're speaking against behind closed doors. So those people, I don't even know if they are worse, but that is the set of people we have right now in society. I leave you to Aisha to go.
Aisha, are you a hypocrite? First, answer the question, yes or no?
Well, I don't know. So that's for others to answer.
Yeah.
So I won't be, whatever I say, I'm going to be biased. So that's for others to say. How do they see me? And I would love feedback. So for me, it's one of the questions I ask myself all the time. And I always tell people, every one of us, we have that moral compass inside of us that tells us whether we're doing the right thing or not. And it's not about what any other person says. When you are alone with yourself, what are your thoughts? Do you like what you're doing, no matter what the world is saying to you? When you look into the mirror, do you like the person you're seeing? And so I think it's very important for every one of us. And if we think about it in the sense of empathy, put yourself in the position of others. What is it that you're doing to them or whatever? Would you want it also to be done to you? And at the end of the day, hold yourself to higher standards than you hold other people.
Yeah, for me, I think this is the stock in trade of many WhatsApp groups. A lot of hypocritical opinions and comments. The question is to ask oneself, are you a hypocrite? I think in the good book, our Lord Jesus said, who do people say I am? And just as Aisha said, it's even better when people tell you who you are, whether you are a hypocrite or not, because it's not a question that you really can answer. Having said that, I remember the woman in the UK, the Nigerian lawyer, who lied when she broke traffic rules and she was arrested. She said, no, she didn't break any rule. Eventually, she was handed a sentence. She maintained that lie until the council in charge of lawyers in the UK also she maintained the lie. In fact, she lied that somebody who was in Egypt at that time was the one driving, whereas she was the one driving.
Oh, wow.
The point I'm making is, so there's some things here in this country that we don't take seriously, but elsewhere it's serious. You can't be lying and want to lead people. You can't be lying and want to, you know, and want other people not to lie. Hypocritical.
Truth is the only antidote to hypocrisy. The impetus for change begins with being dissatisfied with where we are.
That's right. Add to truth, empathy, and kindness. And dissatisfaction has levels bright. And the question is, how dissatisfied are you? A man allegedly violated traffic laws by driving against traffic. Uniformed men chased him. In the process, they shot at his car and the bullet hit his son. That's the simple narration behind the tragic death of a schoolboy in Ibadan recently. There are many questions and lessons in that mortal chase and needless death. The questions first, why engage in a chase as seen in the video when the plate number could have been captured and the driver fined accordingly? Secondly, why continue the chase, seeing that there were teen boys in school uniform in the car? And thirdly, the man committed a civil offense, allegedly, not a criminal offense. Why was the chase so vicious and why pull the trigger? My observations, the tragedy happened because of ego, power, and corruption. Ego to show the driver that he cannot outsmart the group of enforcers on the road. The chase was a show of power to arrest him by all means. That's the driver. Corruption, catching the driver was an opportunity to make money from the man's misfortune beyond the fine. And the bullet. A trained policeman pulled the trigger at an unarmed driver with two teenagers in his car. And one of them, Kehinde Alade, killed by the arrogance and recklessness of a man in possession of firearms. His twin was going to write the WASC exam. Now the analysis, I see the exploitation of the absence of proper signage in that neighborhood by the uniformed men. The driver ran away because, in his words, once you enter their trap, you are gone. Now, vehicle inspection officers, otherwise known as VIOs in Lagos, capture plate numbers with a device to determine if the car has the right papers or not. How is this difficult for other uniformed men manning our roads? And now the lesson. In all that we do as humans, we should never fail to show empathy and kindness. Things are tough already. Why make a fellow citizen feel miserable? Hopefully, this particular case will not end in only a dismissal. Better digital resources should be deployed into policing our roads.
Okay.
So there you go.
Okay, so
Aisha.
so for me, I get your advocacy, but the only part I didn't get is where there's no blame on the father. The father, you know,
The man who drove
the man who drove the car decided to also break traffic law. And I remember when he was explaining, he said one of them stopped him, and then he went this way. He didn't know that there were other four of them. So I think that particular boy was filled by literally everyone, starting from the father to the security agents that were there, and the country as a whole. So I say this a lot, where parents have their kids in their cars, and they're doing things that they're not supposed to do. I mean, if you're going to be indisciplined, you're going to break some rules or whatever, do it when you're alone, not when your child is there. For me, I remember when my kids were quite young, I used to make them wear seat belts. And people were like, I was like, no, I'm not bringing up my children to just be Nigerian citizens. I was bringing them up to be world citizens. So they needed to learn all the things that even at that time, it wasn't necessary to do. So there is that. Then on the issue of trained policemen, where is the training? So the thing also is, are they properly trained? Does the policeman even know how to handle that gun the way it's supposed to handle? What were they shooting at? But like you rightly said, it's corruption, it's the ego to go after, you know, that whole thing. It's just a system that has failed and continues to fail, and just the recklessness where we don't have any value for Nigerian life. Now, what are the lessons that the security agencies are going to learn from this and ensure that the next one doesn't happen? Most times we don't take those lessons.
I think the question I'm going to ask is, the policeman that is trying to hold that guy accountable, is he really trying to hold him accountable for breaking the traffic, or is trying to say, I caught you in the action and now you are accountable to me?
That's the point. The
Because
corruption
if you really check it,
and the power
if you really check it,
and the ego.
If he actually goes through the process and then he stops, it will be, you don't break rules. Two things, I'll carry you to the station and you pay some amount of money, or you do something here. That's exactly how it's going to happen. So somebody is holding somebody accountable only at the end of the day to also break the rules. That's the reason why he's trying to run away, because he knows that this guy is not going to actually do his job. That's the problem.
But the thing is also, the father also didn't do his job.
The father did. To agree, I mean, reiterating it's a life has been lost, and
sadly,
life cut short. I don't understand why he's pulling the trigger, because, I mean, they're not armed robbers that you're chasing, right? Yeah. Hopefully we begin to value life. I think you've said this on this table over and over again. The day we begin to value the lives of Nigerians, even if it's one, then we'll begin to be better people. Really.
So it's an irresponsible father and an irresponsible officer. It's a case of both. I hesitate to, I mean, the blame is firmly with the police, obviously, they pulled the trigger. But when you look at that video and you compare it with the narrative that first came out, because the narrative was that they were chasing some Yahoo boys and then there was a stray bullet and all that. What is clear from the video was that the guy was driving one way, he was caught, okay? The process will have been stop at that moment and take whatever punishment, but then, you know, the driver tried escaping. And when you look at it, you see clearly the father failed the boy, the country failed the boy as well. And so it's a mixed responsibility, and it dovetails into my advocacy when I said that when you look at the culprits of road traffic crashes, it's males. Because I can bet you that if it was a female driving that car, she will have looked at it and seen the risk having her children in the car with armed men, you know, surrounding you. She wouldn't have taken that risk. And this is Andy. Andy is not here, advocating for Nigerians to carry automatic weapons. You know, when even the people who are authorized to carry automatic weapons themselves are in the case. So it's unfortunate what has happened, but I hope that we can learn from it.
I hope so too. Dissatisfaction looks like getting down on our hands and knees and cleaning up our mess. As Aisha said, we are prepared to lead by example here at the table. We'll be back next week. Join us again. Until then, goodbye from all of us.
Bye-bye.